This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
And welcome to the latest and freshest edition of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. I am your host, Vito Chirco, alongside my usual sidekick and partner in crime and fun. That is Doc from Doc and Jock, John Charles Macaroon. We are live, recording right now in studio in Sterling Heights, recording for everybody else, but good to see you and to have your presence in studio for once. It's been a while, John Macaroon. How are you doing?
Vito, my goodness, man. It's been a minute, like you said, on the episodes that you've recorded by yourself. I have been busy, like you said, doing the Lions thing. But as the season, approaches, I will be doing a lot more with you talking baseball. I do love covering the Detroit Tigers. But in the offseason now, there's things to look at in terms of the roster. But we are putting out the Tigers Talk podcast bi-weekly, and we will continue to do so going forward. But now we're here recording the latest edition of the podcast. Lots to talk about, probably in relation to the scandal. Justin Verlander actually kind of made light of it and kind of offended some people in terms of the fact that I don't think many people right now are ready to joke about it, especially in the wake of the controversy, in the wake of the Astros and the Boston Red Sox, losing their managers and getting caught cheating, getting caught red-handed. But we'll put that aside. We'll put the scandal aside. Let's talk about some positivity, because I did get a chance to hear your review of the Tigers additions. And look, I understand that Al Avila was able to stand in front of the media, and he said some things that I thought were quite interesting. And I wanted to start there, because whenever the general manager of the Detroit Tigers speaks in front of the media, you want to kind of interpret what he's saying, kind of seeing what narrative he's trying to push out there. And I was fascinated, Vito, that the narrative that came about from Al Avila was hope. He's like, we're now turning the corner a little bit. We're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. And I took that as just him trying to sell a little bit of hope, trying to sell to the fan base that, we've bottomed out, actually. We're now going to start picking up some more talent. We're going to start integrating some of the talent from the minor leagues to the main roster. We're not going to be a 45-win team next season in 2020. Now, I look at that, Vito, and I say, that's kind of what he has to say, But when you look up and down that roster, a lot of it's the same in terms of the pitching staff. I don't think that the moves that have been made have drastically upgraded the talent level on the roster. Yeah, you got a couple more pieces, a couple more bats, okay? Remember, the team won less than 50 games last year. So where does that take them in my mind? I'll tell you this. I think now the ceiling, as we speak, is about 62 wins and 100 losses. That's where they're at.
Wow, they have really turned the corner, man. Let me say this. If they didn't hit rock bottom, what the hell is rock bottom? If 47 and 114 isn't rock bottom, okay, there's no hope for this ball club moving forward then. And what he said, it's GM speak. You know how we talk about managers and coaches, and we call it canned info out of their mouths, and it's coach speak? This is GM speak out of the mouth of Al Avila, trying to sell hope and optimism to the fan base. And who's really buying it, though? Who's really buying it of the fan base at large out there that likes and watches the Detroit Tigers, Doc, at this point? I don't see many fans actually buying it at this point.
Okay, good. I was going to say, Vito, if you started to come here and tell me that this team could get into the 75 to 80 win range, I would have had a serious talk with you saying, look, they still got to throw out Jordan Zimmerman. They still got to throw out Daniel Norris. The roster still has a bunch of holes. And I just look at that roster and I go, wow. The defense was atrocious last year. There were holes all over that lineup. The team struck out more times than anybody, in the franchise's history. So you got a long way to go. But let us look at a couple positives. In terms of what we saw online from Miguel Cabrera, are you impressed by the fact that he has worked out with the likes of Rob Gronkowski, is watching his nutrition, is doing some things? I think that he took it to heart that he was truly embarrassed that last year in 2019, he was, his season was cut short, injury plagued, and his numbers were way down. And when you embarrass someone like that, I do think that it sparked change. He doesn't want to go out like that. He doesn't want to steal the Detroit Tigers' money. And I truly feel like he's going to have a rebound year, at least a good start to 2020. I think that when you take the efforts, when you make the change, when you decide, oh boy, I'm overweight and I got to take the pressure off my knee. Because remember, Vito, his knee and the reports that came out toward, the end of last year were that his injury is not going to really significantly progress, that the only thing he had to hang his hat on was doing some stuff on his own. And the number one thing he could have did on his own was drop some LBs. And it looked like via his social media, he did that.
He might not be eating as many Big Macs on a regular basis. Now, you said, am I optimistic that, because he looked better, he's working out with Rob Gronkowski, supposedly, that he's going to be better and in better shape come the start of the regular season? Well, Gronk likes to party, remember, too. And Miguel Cabrera has a past with partying a little bit too much, including when they were in a divisional playoff push towards the end of a season, and he was hanging out with the White Sox over the course of a weekend towards the end of that season when they were still fighting for a division. So we know he likes to maybe booze it up a little bit, use the bottle, go to the bottle a little bit too much, and Rob Gronkowski likes to party and have his fun as well. So now I'm really stretching it and exaggerating here. He did look good. He looked fresh. He looked in shape. But am I totally optimistic that he's going to turn it around now at the plate and be so much better going into 2020 because he looks smooth and fresh in that picture with Gronk? No.
I think the starting point is that, his power numbers are going to be down, probably in the neighborhood of 15 home runs. Expect 15 to 20 max. Now, if he does turn it around and you start seeing the balls fly out a little bit, that'd be a plus. But I do think, though, that Miguel Cabrera can at least contribute a lot better, doesn't have to be in and out of the lineup, and can be somebody that, if he's utilized as the DH, can be somebody that contributes. I don't think that his bat is going to just disappear. I think he can be a contact hitter, especially a guy with, his resume. That guy can hit the ball, and he can give a lot of these hitters a lot of tips and pointers, so you need him on the roster. You need him there. I think him alongside of maybe Turnbull, probably one of the rare players that you actually want to go out and see, and the entire roster. There's not that many guys. I think Fulmer's not going to return until at least the All-Star break, so you're not going to see him right away. So outside of Turnbull and Miguel Cabrera, who on that roster do you really want to see? Maybe it's going to be, it's not going to be Nico Goodrum. It's not going to be Jacoby Jones.
We interviewed Nico Goodrum. Come on.
Nope.
Throwing him under the bus now? Come on, let's give the guy some love. He's my buddy, Nico Goodrum.
Refresh my memory, the third baseman.
Third baseman for the Tigers. Well, Nicholas Castellanos, Jeimer Candelario right now, though, is third baseman. Now, Now, they had talked about him shifting over to first. They got C.J. Cron there
Kristen
now.
Stewart.
But Jamer. And then Kristen Stewart, corner outfielder, left fielder right now for them, brings some power with his bat. So they got some middle-of-the-order guys that could produce maybe and do better this season than they did in 2019. And Miguel Cabrera has to. He's making $30 million annually, John, until 2023. And not to be Singlio. Remember, Maglio Ordonez became Mr. Singlio. We don't need that from Miguel Cabrera making $30 million annually. So, because you brought up him hitting for contact. That's not going to cut the mustard seed. He's going to have to hit more than 12 home runs. He only hit that amount last season and hit a couple towards the end of the year to get to 12 home runs on the season. So you got to get at least 20 bombs out of him for what he's making as that middle-of-the-order bat, the guy that has to carry them in the heart of their order. And my concern is the Tigers aren't going to get that out of Miguel Cabrera in 2020 or beyond.
Really? You still are skeptical, huh?
Well, after last year, hey, he looked great. But we can shed some LBs too. Doesn't mean we're going to just start hitting the baseball, the heck out of the baseball, and start hitting for power all of a sudden. If he lost it, he lost it. There's no regaining it. Perhaps at this juncture in his career, the advanced part of his career. He's not getting any younger. He's not a spring chicken any longer. And remember, he's going to have these nagging issues now with the injury bug for the rest of his career, dealing with chronic pain really throughout his body. And that's why he's relegated to DH duties full time. Maybe he'll play first base in an emergency situation for a game or two throughout the course of 2020. But realistically, you can't expect him to play in the field anymore. And you can't expect him to be a guy that hits for 20 bombs a year any longer either.
Anybody that you're looking forward to seeing maybe that can start the year with the big club from the minors? Who are the couple players? I think we've talked about it towards the tail end of last year, but I think that there's a chance maybe we see Casey Mize, maybe we see some of the likes of the younger talent that gets up there from Toledo into the big squad. Anybody besides the catcher that we saw that kind of fizzled? Jake Rogers.
Jake Rogers wasn't good, man. Light hitting guy below the Mendoza line. Willie Castro as well. My guy, Willie, because I interviewed him as well on the Tigers dugout, but he didn't produce at the plate nearly enough to warrant him being a starting caliber player come opening day of this season. So those two dudes extremely struggled at the plate, and Jake even did behind the plate, throwing the baseball down to second base and just defensively, overall-wise. That was his calling card. He was the best catcher defensively in all of AAA baseball and all of the minors a year ago. But when he got the call up to the majors, all of that went by the wayside, and he no longer was even adequate defensively at times. And that really concerns me with him moving forward. He's got to turn it around defensively. Also start making contact at the big league level. He's got to make more decent and consistent contact moving forward. Same thing with Willie Castro. And maybe he develops into a better all-around fielding shortstop and middle infielder overall-wise. But those two dudes have to turn it around at the plate. And when you talk about their farm hands, the pitchers on the farm currently that are among their top prospects, such as Casey Mize, number 1 overall, consensus number 1 for the Tigers farm system. Matt Manning, widely heralded as the Tigers' second best prospect. Those two dudes, they aren't going to be up come opening day. They'll be up with the major league club perhaps by midseason. So after the trade deadline, let's say, and come August 1, they should both be up with the major league club if they're really doing well and avoid the injury bug at the AAA level and just in the Tigers minor league system. So those two dudes could be steady performers for them, but come mid-season. Other guys that could come up right away and maybe contribute, well, it's thin. And especially when you consider their positional player talent on the farm. There's not much to be seen among those kind of players. Maybe a Daz Cameron. Maybe he continues to develop and has a better season at AAA this season than he did a season ago. Same thing with Derek Hill. Maybe he continues to make strides at the plate and becomes an even better all-around player and outfielder that can be called up and maybe even towards the beginning of the season. But, I mean, I'm really trying to scratch for something, man. It's thin. It's thin when it comes to the Tigers' positional player talent.
Wait, so you're saying that the acquisition and signing of minor league, former Twins first baseman Kenny Vargas doesn't impress you all that much to a minor league deal?
I love Vargas, man. I love him. Best of the best. Watch out for the Tigers going to win it all in 2020 now. Well, no, he doesn't really impress me or get me going on a Monday morning or any kind of morning during the week.
Okay, now this proposition comes to us from Click on Detroit, so from WDIV, and they kind of scoured the trade rumors and they looked around MLB, and obviously the Reds made news, and I'll get your sense of that as well in terms of Nick Castellanos signing, I think, a multi-year deal, 4-year deal with the Reds.
4 years, $64 million, not bad for the Reds, I think more than for him.
Yeah, but in terms of what their needs are, they're looking potentially for a pitcher, and so what do you make of this? WDIV says, Detroit Tigers should try to trade Matt Boyd and a prospect to the Reds for outfielder Nick Senzel and Astridis Aquino.
Well, I know Senzel, he's got some talent. Both guys are relatively young, and they could use an outfield bat, but they could use so many different positions, okay? They could use an upgrade everywhere, all across the diamond. And with their pitching staff still. Is there really pitching staff, as it's currently structured, the one you want to go to opening day with? I mean, there's a lot of areas of need, including in the outfield. I'll give WDIV that much. And it seemed like the Reds could use some pitching and upgrade with Matthew Boyd. But how big of an upgrade is Matthew Boyd, too? He tailed off down the stretch hugely. Remember, he was great in the first half, all-star caliber arm for the Tigers, and a top-of-the-line rotation arm at one point in 2019. But as the season did progress, as the trade deadline passed, what happened to his production, John? Refresh my memory. It dipped. Took a turn for the worse, man, didn't it? So what are you going to get for him at this point? You're going to have to package him with the prospect, like WDIV brought to the table as a possibility. And even with that, what are you going to get in return for the services of left-hander Matthew Boyd, who is more of a number 3 starter, best case scenario? He's no number 2. He's no number 1. And the Tigers are lacking that extremely at the top of the rotation outside of Michael Fulmer for at least the first half of the season. And when he returns, remember, before he got hurt and underwent Tommy John surgery, he wasn't that great either for the Tigers. So he's got to rehab. And when he gets back, will he be fully healthy and fully effective once again, like he was a couple of years ago, really 2.5 years ago now? There's no guarantee with him being this consistent dominant arm at the top of the rotation either. And you can't trust Jordan Zimmerman to be that by any stretch of the imagination. Daniel Norris either, who I like more than Zimmerman because he's still on the right side of 30, Norris that is, and just a younger dude, more potential and upside right now in his arm. But I mean, overall-wise, John, you look at that rotation, man, 1 through 5, including your boy Spencer Turnbull, who you already mentioned. Nobody is a sexy arm that can lead a major league rotation.
Okay, so what you're saying is that even though the talk potentially was at the end of the, or the trade deadline last year was that the Tigers should have moved on from Matt Boyd, I feel like they made a mistake. I don't think that you were going to find that Boyd's value was going to be any higher than it was when it was at the trade deadline because, like you said, his performance dipped and he gave up a bunch of home runs.
Oh, God.
It became a problem.
I mean, everybody did. JV, Justin Verlander did as well. He won a Cy Young Award for it. So you can get away with it if you're extra dominant when it comes to the strikeouts. Boyd was better, much better, career high in that, and like strikeouts per walk ratio. But still, he's no Justin Verlander. He's no Justin Verlander by any stretch.
Can Boyd improve upon his 2019 season this year?
I think he'll finish with a better ERA and FIP fielding independent pitching mark, that is. But to say he's going to be this 3.5 or below ERA dude now, no. He's just not that good. He's not that kind of arm. Can he be decent and solid in terms of producing innings for you? Sure. But being a frontline starting arm right now, John, in 2020 or moving forward, I highly doubt that.
So resting our hopes on Spencer Turnbull, huh?
Well, you are. I don't know why you said Turnbull. My God.
He was okay.
He was one of the 2 guys you brought up. What?
He was okay.
He was decent for a little bit. Here's the thing: we're stretching it, man. We're looking for okay. Like you gotta say okay like that. Okay, because really, all the guys were okay. Were they great? Were they even decent for a large portion of the season? No. Nobody was consistently productive. I mean, you look at their finest bats from 2019, John. Nico Goodrum was one of their finest bats. Look at his numbers across the board. Was he really that steady? He was no steady Freddy throughout the majority of the season. Had his stretches, had his streaks, but everybody was streaky. Nobody was consistent from start to finish. I mean, Miguel Cabrera almost didn't turn it on to the bitter end of the season when he hit a couple of bombs to get to 12 home runs on the season. You need more production out of him. You need now their 2 acquisitions for the middle of their order and just, for their lineup to deepen it. CJ Cron at first to hit power. You need him to produce the power numbers and really well. And Jonathan Scope at second. You need production and almighty kind of production out of the two of them, or this lineup is going to be stinko yet again.
Okay, Vito, you're not.
I'm depressing.
Yeah,
okay, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I'm a realist too here behind this mic for Tigers talking. It'll probably only get worse as the season starts and they start losing and the losses pile up. This negativity being exuded by me is probably only going to get worse, unfortunately.
Well, remember, in 2019, they started off decent. I mean, it wasn't horrible.
And
then
all right, at least.
And then the losses piled up and the season went to crap real fast. So, yeah, it's going to be a long year. But
got to be better than 47 wins. That's the thing. And they're bound to be better than that, at least. But it's not saying much. Go on now.
Exactly. You got to just play some games with some juice, and you got to play a better brand of baseball. And I think that's the initial start is that, okay, they're going to be at least fundamentally sound. I think that the talent that they have that they're going to probably field, in terms of the roster is going to be a lot better than it was last year. And I think the play on the field, at least if you hope that spring training produces something of note that, hey, play fundamentally sound, the defense improves, and hey, if you want to keep it simple, hit the cutoff guy. How many times do they miss the cutoff guy and give away runs? Play better defense, pitch a little bit better, and maybe be in a little bit more of the ball games. But I think in terms of now sitting here talking to you about it, is Rondon the closer? Who's the closer now for the Detroit Tigers?
Bruce Rondon is long gone.
Yes, that's right.
The White Sox. Their closer was Shane Green, and now they have Joe Jimenez. You're thinking of Joe Jimenez.
Yes.
Joe Jimenez should be the closer. Now, is he really a bona fide, trustworthy closer?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
But how many guys are trustworthy on this roster? Once again, to be depressing and negative.
You know why I said Bruce Rondon, which is funny?
You're thinking of Rondon. Your mind's on Rondon because you loved him. You thought he was sexy, man, back in the day.
I put it out there that he was going to be good, and then he went to the White Sox, and then he was okay.
Yeah, he was aight. Very much aight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jimenez.
Jimenez, baby.
Do you think he takes the next step, or is he going to be somebody that flames out?
He needs to. Good God. I mean, who's going to? I mean, I keep being depressing, but he showcased some signs. He did. But really, his last time of being real relevant was 2018 now. 2019 was not a good year for him either. I mean, 2019 wasn't good for many people when you only won 47 games, okay?
Exactly. That's why my mind
that equates to.
That's why my mind naturally, like everybody else, Vito, goes to that bullpen. And right now, I'm devastated.
Well, Buck Farmer's the best reliever. If you're going to get to that point, Buck Farmer's the best
Vito.
reliever at this point, man.
Vito.
And he can be a shoddy dude as well, but he was effective. Best year of his major league career. I mean, you got to give him that much last year. And actually, he was the best arm down the stretch once Shane Green was dealt.
Now, excuse me for the error of my ways. I've been focused heavily on the Lions, but Blaine Hardy did get let go, right?
Blaine Hardy was actually... Well, no, Alex Wilson's the guy that received a minor league invite. So Alex Wilson could be back. So you got Alex Wilson, no longer Justin Wilson. We're dating ourselves here.
And
Rondon's gone.
And Blaine Hardy is gone because I looked at it and I said, okay, I want to get rid of Blaine Hardy. I want to get rid of Buck Farmer. I wanted to get rid of the entire... Oh, my God, Vito, if you just go through and check out the roster from last year's bullpen, how bad that who the individuals were that they were throwing out there.
Think about how hard it would be to name all those guys, even for us.
I erased it from my memory.
Podcast.
It was so bad.
It was so bad. We had to erase those memories.
I erased them from my memory. And so the way I look at it is, again, if you just start with something, the Tigers had some leads. And again, they just struggled innings 6 through 9 last year to close the deal. Do you see maybe some sort of effort to collectively maybe steadily improve this bullpen, maybe make it more of a priority? Is that the case with a team like this? Do you think that, I guess the way I want to phrase it is it the fastest way possible to see improvements is if you slightly tweak that bullpen and bring in a couple more talented individuals, whether it be free agency or, you find, a situation in which you make the trade? Do you think the biggest improvement that might get you 10 to 15 more wins is if you established 3 reliable bullpen arms?
Other teams have taken that route and have started winning, and they might not be the deepest rosters, collectively speaking. So, sure, I would say go on the bullpen route, and that's something that they've needed for a long, long time now is upgrading that bullpen and the back end of it specifically. Also, though, you need better and more consistently effective and productive middle inning arms, which, sad but true, Buck Farmer is that. He is, John. You have to accept it. Look at that sour face you have right now, man. Put a grin. Come on, start smiling a little bit.
I just was bothered. I just don't feel like the Tigers are ever going to win until they let go of Buck Farmer.
Love some.
Oh my God! Oh God! Here we go.
Give him some love, John. Come on, man.
Here we go. Detroit Tigers players. Drew Verhagen.
I was say Drew Verhagen was decent for a little bit, but how many years ago now?
Bust. Major. Ryan Carpenter, starter. Bust.
Ryan got lit up on a game-to-game basis.
Oh my God, Victor Alcantara. Oh my God,
Victor Alcantara. Okay, you know what? It was decent at times. He really was out of the pen. So, not saying much of the state of the Tigers' pen and how they're currently structured, but there's not much to work with, John Macaron, at this point. I mean, you just got to accept it. You got to accept the fact that your boy, not really your boy, but my boy now, Buck Farmer, is one of those better, more effective relievers going into 2020 for the Tigers.
Oh my God! And then the guy that gave up the grand slam, I just can't remember his name. I'm gonna look it up real fast. It was unbelievable. Remember when the left-handed pitcher that we had a lead? I remember the game specifically. The Tigers had a major lead, and everyone was just sitting there going, "Okay, he's going to be brought out from the bullpen. Please don't give up a grand slam." And what did he do? He served up a fat meatball and gave up the grand slam. And it's just one of those situations when you look at that roster, all these pitchers are, oh my God, Vito. Tyson Ross was injured, and he, didn't make it through the year. Zach
Matt
Reininger.
Moore got hurt. Remember, they acquired Matt Moore. They acquired Tyson Ross an offseason ago as veteran arms for the rotation, and those guys they got hurt, so they flamed out quickly. Now, they both started off on the right path, including Matt Moore out of nowhere. Matt Moore was washed up pretty much, and he turned out to be decent until he got hurt, and he was done. Tyson Ross ended up getting hurt as well, and that effectively ended their careers with the Tigers.
Gregory Soto.
Another one of the very crappy relievers from the Tigers in 2019. But this has been the state of the Tigers bullpen for years and years, even when they were relevant and competing for AL Central Division crowns. They were producing shoddy results night in, night out as a bullpen collectively. So now they've just been doing it while they've been stinking up the joint. So this bullpen has been ineffective for many years now.
Oh my God.
And guess what? It's going to happen again in 2020, more than likely. I mean, when Buck Farmer, you can say right now on paper, for their bullpen going into 2020, that he's your best reliever. Well, when that's the case, John, you got a problem, and a big-time problem on your hands.
All right, Vito. In the coming weeks, let's look a little bit into the minors, because I think as we progress through this show, I think what you're kind of revealing to many is that we got to probably pay attention a lot more to the minors. What's going on in Toledo, what's going on out there on the west side of the state and things like that, and Grand Rapids and all that good stuff. So I think that's probably the tone and the direction we'll go in the coming weeks, is to kind of look at a couple of the top prospects, see what's going on with the young cats that have been drafted, and figure out who can contribute to this lineup in 2020 and beyond. Because yeah, the main club, again, is going to be a tough watch day in, day out. We'll try to definitely analyze what's going on there. But, in the offseason, so far it's been relatively quiet. And, the biggest news I think that was made was the Tigers canceled Winterfest. And they're doing the
People cried and just, oh, God, couldn't sleep because of it.
Yep. So, again, this podcast, this baseball podcast will air every 2 weeks here on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. And give us your final thought in regards to what happened with the Astros and Justin Verlander, because now to bring it to a tie to the Tigers is that, Justin Verlander was definitely outspoken in regards to baseball rules. He felt like, well, why are all the baseballs that I'm pitching flying out of the ballpark? And he kind of started to throw out allegations that the balls were juiced and that the integrity of the game is very important. Cheaters should never be allowed in the game of baseball. What's going on? It's maybe an institutional type thing. So he was very outspoken when it was going up against him. Now that the tables have been turned and it was revealed that the Astros are a cheating organization, he's out there accepting awards and making jokes saying that the Astros are technologically and analytically sound, and it got some laughs. But I think not to make any public comments. He didn't show up to a team event to speak in front of the media, whereas those controversial figures like Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman did show up. They give him credit. They didn't really say much. And I like Jose Altuve. He's like, hey, we're going to be right back in there. We're going to be doing it. What's wrong with you guys?
Well, that's how they would say F you to the world. If they made the World Series despite all this happening and what's happened with their manager, A.J. Hinch, and GM, Jeffrey Lunau, being fired, still make it all the way to the fall class, that'd be a huge F you to everybody.
I'll say this, breaking news as we're recording this, Dusty Baker is finalizing a contract. Dude's the biggest retread manager of all time. He gets around.
He's going to win it all, baby, now. Dusty Baker,
imagine
long overdue.
You go from A.J. Hinch to potential candidates of Brad Ausmus and Dusty Baker.
I couldn't believe that Brad Ausmus was being interviewed. He's lost 2 jobs now. Only lasted a year with the Halos. Okay?
Wow.
Now, they forced him out because of Joe Madden becoming available. So I get why they, ended up accepting him, hiring him, Sunshiny Joe. Because he is Sunshiny Joe at 60 whatever. He looks good, man. He's fresh. He's all about LA and looks the part.
So,
but anyways.
Your thought on Justin Verlander and his silence. Does it give you pause? Are you now frustrated with a guy that, you found to be somebody that you invested in and were a fan of at the time? But now when you got to stand up for what's right, you're absent.
I'm still a fan, but I will not abstain from talking about him right now and criticizing him in this situation for the comments that he made, accepting his Cy Young Award. I think that's what it was all about, was at an award ceremony in front of the Baseball Writers Association of America.
This is bad.
And made some bad and tone deaf. That's how I would label the comments as. Tone deaf comments about the Astros being advanced analytically and technologically. Wrong time of saying that, JV. Don't you know about the situation surrounding you? And it's a lack of self-awareness. You can boo the guy all night long because he deserves it right now for what he said, being so darn tone deaf with those comments. Something he should have never said, especially at this point, even if he meant it in a joking manner, which I don't think he meant it sarcastically, by the way. And it did not gain much laughter. It gained a lot of silence. And that's what I recall about the situation, and based on the facts that I gathered. 2 thumbs down, too, based on JV in those comments. And once again, something he should have never said, as this situation is still very fresh.
Good stuff, Vito. Quick hitter. Should Major League Baseball strip the Astros of their title? Should they strip the Boston Red Sox of their title and hand them over to the Los Angeles Dodgers, losers of the last 2 World Series?
Well, no, because there's always been stealing of signs. Not to this point with the advanced technology, but it's never going to happen anyway. So it doesn't even matter what I think or you think, John. Rob Manfred in the commissioner's office, and no matter who becomes a commissioner one day too, is not stripping those Astros or those Red Sox of those World Series titles.
And for those that did pay attention, the motion that was put out there in LA was more of a symbolic nature. That they, for those that are aware, somebody out in LA kind of put out a motion that said, hey, we want to put out an appeal to Mr. Manfred, and let's just make it right and strip those organizations that cheated of the title and give it to the rightful LA Dodgers, who face a lot of criticism in their pitchers because of the fact that they were giving up a bunch of hits and Clayton Kershaw couldn't get it done on the road, and I found it interesting, but it'll never happen.
You don't give a championship to somebody that did not win the championship.
Exactly. Vacate it.
It's based on that.
At best,
vacate it. You don't give it to the Dodgers. They didn't win it.
Or, like many people now are doing, is when we look back at the Astros, you just put a big fat asterisk, and that's what it is.
Big time asterisk. It's like with Barry Bonds. All those guys, if they were ever able to get into the Hall of Fame, which doesn't look like it now after what just happened. Remember the induction, too. We didn't even talk about that really quick. Derek Jeter did not get in unanimously.
Wow.
One guy failed to vote him in. Okay, here's the thing. Everybody up in arms right now about it and in dismay. Guess what? Other guys that should have been voted in unanimously did not get voted in unanimously either. Like Ken Griffey Jr., he's a guy that should have been over Jeter. So if you're up in arms about Jeter, be up in arms about all those other dudes that never got voted in unanimously. And that's why I'm not going to be as slighted or act like I'm worked up about it as much as those dudes because of that fact with other guys that should have been voted in the past unanimously.
Make sure you follow Vito on Twitter. A good follow, a good baseball man, someone that definitely will engage in debates regarding the Detroit Tigers. And you got your first positive review, man. Someone loved the baseball podcast in particular. So good for you on iTunes. If you love Vito's podcast, go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. Tell us how awesome Vito is and help the numbers and help the ratings. You can find this podcast anywhere your favorite podcast is aired. Follow Vito on Twitter at Vito Jerome. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Again, we'll revisit a lot of these topics and talk a little bit more about some prospects and what we expect now, maybe looking at some certain positions and breaking it all down going forward on the next edition of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company.
And if you hate me too, let me know as well. Adios.